I walked into the terminal like I belonged there. Navy blue blazer, braids pulled back. My gold watch ticked with the same precision I built my company on. My name is Elena JM. I'm the CEO of a billion-dollar tech empire. But at Horizon Air's first-class counter, they didn't see any of that. All they saw was a black woman they assumed didn't belong. Cut to, a boarding pass slides across the counter. A smirk. A dismissal. You're not on the list, he told me, but what he didn't realize was I don't wait for lists. I write them. Montage. System glitching, agents panicking, passengers watching, silence falling. I didn't yell. I didn't fold. I made one phone call and the entire gate unraveled. This isn't just about a ticket. This is about what happens when you underestimate the wrong woman. The morning air at Chicago O'Hare's Terminal 2 carried a quiet hum, travelers rolling suitcases across polished floors, voices bouncing off glass and tile, and the faint static of boarding announcements echoing like ghosts. It was business as usual, until she walked in. Elena JM moved with a calm intensity that didn't ask for space, it took it. She didn't glance around for approval or affirmation. She didn't need to. The moment she stepped into line at the first-class check-in for Horizon Air, she turned heads not because of glamour, but because of presence. She wore a navy blue blazer, crisply tailored, not for display but for precision. A leather tote rested on her shoulder. No brand logos, no flamboyant hardware, just clean lines and quiet power. Her dark braids were pulled into a low, disciplined bun. A gold watch ticked quietly on her wrist, every second marking her authority like a silent metronome. The agent behind the counter, Tyler, wiry and uninterested, barely lifted his eyes from the screen. His tie was crooked, his badge slightly askew. "Boarding pass," he muttered, fingers already tapping the keyboard in a slow, indifferent rhythm. Elena offered the pass with a quiet nod, printed across the top in bold black text, Flight 214, First Class, 9:15 a.m., Seat 2A, Elena JM. Tyler scanned it once. His brows knit. He scanned it again. Then, with a small flick of his wrist, like tossing away a receipt, he pushed it back across the counter. "Nope, not in the system," he said, already turning his attention elsewhere. Elena didn't flinch. Her voice, smooth as glass but firm as iron, slid across the counter. "It's there. Check it again. Properly." Tyler smirked, finally meeting her eyes for a second and just as quickly breaking the gaze. "I did. You're not on this flight. Maybe you meant economy, over there." He jerked his thumb toward the crowded line of general boarding. And just like that, in the blink of a lazy dismissal, the rules of the world tried to rewrite themselves. But what Tyler didn't know was that Elena JM doesn't get in the wrong line. She writes the line herself. Behind the blazer, behind the calm, behind the unreadable expression, was a name that meant power in the world of technology. Elena JM, CEO of Jackson Meridian, the woman who had turned forgotten startups into billion-dollar titans. Her name had appeared on patent filings, innovation boards, and Forbes' most respected founders list 3 years running. But none of that mattered to Tyler, or the system that flagged her. This morning, she wasn't a CEO. She was just a black woman who, in their eyes, didn't look like first class. And Elena had seen that look before. The kind of glance that doesn't say it out loud, but hums the unspoken. "You don't belong here." She stood her ground. "My ticket is paid, confirmed. Seat 2A, first class." Tyler's smirk deepened. He leaned slightly forward, now jabbing at the keyboard with exaggerated effort not to help, but to prove something. "Ma'am, I'm telling you, you're not in the system. Step aside now, or I call security." Around her, the line rustled. A woman in a cashmere scarf made a show of sighing. A man with slicked back hair checked his Rolex, tapping his foot louder than necessary. The air grew tight, the kind of pressure that turns silence into accusation. But Elena? She remained still, focused. She pulled out her phone, scrolled, tapped, held out her confirmation email crystal clear on the screen. Horizon Air, Flight 214, Seat 2A. 9:15 a.m. Passenger Elena JM, undeniable. She extended it toward him, calm and deliberate. Explain this then. Tyler snatched the phone from her hand, eyes scanning for barely a second. Then, with a scoff, he tossed it across the counter. The screen skidded and stopped face down. Fake. Glitch. Doesn't match. You're done here. His words weren't just disrespectful, they were weaponized. He looked through her, over her, past her, as if her presence was a mistake that the system needed to correct. And still, Elena didn't budge. A second agent appeared, heels clicking across the tile with military precision. Lindsay. Blonde ponytail pulled back like a no-nonsense statement, arms crossed, mouth already pursed as if preparing for an argument. She slid in beside Tyler like a human barricade. "What's the holdup?" she barked. Without waiting for an answer, she grabbed the boarding pass, scanned it herself. The machine gave a flat beep of rejection. Her lips tightened. "Sorry, ma'am, you're not boarding this flight." No sympathy, no curiosity, no effort to double-check. Just certainty, the kind built not on evidence, but on assumption. Tyler leaned back, folding his arms with fresh smugness. The winner's stance. "Told you, move along or we escalate." The terminal was starting to buzz. A businessman with a Bluetooth headset muttered loudly about missed meetings. A mother rocked her stroller, whispering, "Unbelievable." Elena didn't flinch. She reached down calmly, retrieved her phone again, and with the same composure she might use in a boardroom, dialed one number. Her voice? Steady, precise. "Marcus, O'Hare Terminal 2, Horizon Air. They're denying my first-class ticket. It's real. Handle it. Now." There was no panic in her tone, just instruction, command, authority. On the other end, Marcus Reed, her COO, a man who had negotiated seven-figure contracts and dismantled hostile mergers, simply responded, "Got it. 2 minutes." That was all Elena needed to hear. She hung up, placed her phone back in her coat pocket, then locked eyes with Tyler and Lindsay, a stare so sharp it could split concrete. And then she waited, still, silent, like a storm that doesn't rage, but builds. The seconds after Elena's phone call ticked by like detonator clicks. Tyler returned to the keyboard, but his hands no longer carried the same cockiness. He typed faster now, fingers pounding the keys with rising desperation. "Come on, load, damn it." The screen blinked, froze. Then a red error message flashed across the top. Invalid entry. He cursed under his breath and slammed his hand down on the desk. A kid in line flinched, clutching a stuffed bear tighter. Lindsay's radio buzzed. She pressed it to her ear and her eyes went wide. A voice crackled through the static, low and urgent. "What the hell is happening?" Tyler snapped. "Shut up," Lindsay hissed back. "They're saying she's someone." "What do you mean, someone?" Passengers were now openly whispering. Phones were coming out. A man in a tailored suit muttered, "I paid for first class, fix this." A woman with a crying toddler glared. Even the stroller seemed offended. Then the PA system broke through the noise. "Attention, passengers. Flight 214 to Seattle is temporarily paused. Please stand by for further updates." Tyler swore again, loud, raw. "You've got to be kidding me." He started tapping frantically, windows opening and crashing, pop-ups, code lines, digital flickers of a system spinning out of control. Behind him, Lindsay looked pale. Her hand gripped the counter. Her other hand clutched the radio like a life preserver. "Yes, sir." "She's still here," she whispered. "VIP? What list?" I don't have access." Her voice was drowned out by the rising swell of complaints behind them. The gate was falling apart. And at the very center, Elena stood unmoving, her tote by her feet, her posture unyielding. She didn't sigh. She didn't speak. She just watched, like the eye of a hurricane, still while everything around her unraveled. Through the chaos, the crowd suddenly parted. A man in a Horizon Air blazer, tie askew and face slick with sweat, pushed through the gate with urgency. His name badge bounced against his chest as he jogged toward the counter. Greg Hall, gate supervisor. His eyes locked on Elena like she was the emergency he'd been told to contain. "Miss JM?" he panted. I'm so sorry, there's been a terrible mix-up. You're cleared. We're fixing it right now. Elena didn't smile, didn't soften. She looked him dead in the eye and asked, her voice sharp as a blade, "Fixing what, exactly?" Greg's words stumbled over each other. A flag in the system. It wasn't intentional. A glitch, maybe. "No," Elena cut in. Her voice rose, not loud, but firm, resonant. "My ticket was real. Your agents didn't think I was." Silence. Tyler shifted behind the counter, shoulders hunched. His eyes dropped to the floor. Lindsay gripped the counter like it might float her out of this moment. Greg wiped his forehead with a trembling hand. I don't know why it was flagged, but corporate's on it. We've escalated it." Elena stepped forward just enough for her shadow to fall across Greg's chest. Her presence loomed. Not good enough. Greg's mouth opened. No words came out. "You don't get to shrug this off," she continued, voice steady and searing. "I want names. I want reasons. Now." The terminal fell still. Passengers froze mid-sentence. A toddler's cry hiccuped into silence. The air itself felt wired, electrified by her command. Greg's radio buzzed again. He flinched, lifted it to his ear with a shaking hand. His face drained of color. "Miss JM, he croaked. "They're pulling the access logs. Your ticket's reinstated. Boarding's back on." Elena didn't move. "You don't escort me anywhere," she said, her voice cutting like wind over steel. "Not until I know why your staff looked at me and saw a fraud." Greg swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing like a panic signal. "It's coming from upstairs. 2 minutes, I swear." Elena crossed her arms. Her gold watch ticked once, twice. She waited. Behind the counter, Tyler's hands hovered uselessly over the keyboard, screens still blinking red. "This is stupid," he muttered, tugging at his tie like it was choking him. "She's just—" "Shut up, Ty," Lindsay snapped, her voice breaking. "You heard the radio. She's someone big, and we're screwed." The crowd was swelling behind them, phones recording, whispers sharpening. A businessman in a charcoal suit leaned to his wife. "Who is she?" Another pulled out his phone, red recording light blinking. A woman with an iPad muttered to no one in particular, "Whatever just happened? This is going viral." And through it all, Elena stood like stone, a monument of grace under fire. Not because she needed to defend herself, but because she didn't have to. Then Greg's radio erupted, loud and crisp, audible to everyone within 10 feet. "Elena JM, CEO of Jackson Meridian. VIP clearance buried deep. System error. Agents botched it. Get her on now." It was a voice from the top. Greg spun toward Elena like someone just yelled fire in a crowded room. "Miss JM, you're confirmed, you're cleared, top priority. We didn't know." "You didn't ask," she snapped. Her words sliced through his apology like a guillotine. "You assumed." She turned slowly, not to leave, not yet, but to deliver one final message. Her eyes locked onto Tyler and Lindsay. They shrank beneath her gaze. The smirk gone. The arrogance gone. Only silence. "Those two don't touch another passenger," Elena said. "Not until they understand what respect looks like." Greg nodded, head bobbing like a puppet. "Yes, ma'am. Off rotation. Retraining starts today." Only then did she move. Elena picked up her leather tote, slung it over her shoulder with a quiet, fluid motion, then walked toward the boarding gate, the first to step through. No apology needed, no escort required. Just presence, and the weight of a message they would never forget. Elena boarded the plane first. The flight attendant stood straighter than usual, her smile tight, eyes wide with nervous recognition. "Welcome aboard, Miss JM." Elena offered a single nod, not cold, just measured. She found her seat, 2A, wide, plush, crisp white headrest with the Horizon Air logo. It was exactly what she had paid for, but she didn't sink into it. She sat upright, back straight, eyes steady, mind still playing it back. Tyler's sneer, Lindsay's radio click, Greg's panic. In that exact moment, the terminal shifted when everyone realized. She wasn't bluffing. She wasn't a mistake. She was the storm. Her phone buzzed softly. Marcus had texted, "You good?" She typed back, "Nailed them hard." He responded with a single emoji. For the first time all morning, Elena allowed herself the faintest smirk. Small, real, a flicker of quiet triumph. Outside the window, the airport bustled as if nothing had happened. But inside, she had shifted the weight of a system. By noon, Horizon Air was already in damage control mode. Tyler was pulled from post, escorted out, badge clattering into his locker. Lindsay? Scheduled for 6 a.m. retraining, she couldn't escape. Greg? On the phone with corporate, sweating under fluorescent lights. And Elena? She flew. Calm, clear, still in control. Because she hadn't raised her voice, hadn't cursed, hadn't raged. She stood still, and the system, flawed and fragile, unraveled around her. The flight touched down in Seattle right on time. As Elena stepped off the jet bridge, the Pacific air kissed her skin, and there he was, Marcus Reed, waiting at the end of the corridor with his signature quiet grin. "Heard you made them sweat buckets," he said, hands in his coat pockets. Elena didn't slow down, didn't break stride. "They earned every drop," she replied, brushing past him. There was no celebration, no high five, no vengeance glow. There was work to do. "Lunch?" Marcus offered. "Later," she said. "They'll remember this. I need to make sure it sticks." Meanwhile, back at O'Hare Airport, Tyler walked off the job early, muttering about overblown nonsense, trying to convince himself that it wasn't a big deal, that it wasn't his fault, that he was still right. His badge hit the locker like a gavel. Lindsay stayed behind, face pale, fingers fidgeting with a pen as she waited for the mandatory retraining session. Her stomach churned, because deep down she knew. She hadn't just made a mistake. She'd become one. And Greg? He typed an email late that night, hands still shaking. "Miss JM, the agents have been disciplined. Full audit of the flagging system is underway. We've included your statement in our new training module. Thank you again." Elena read it, nodded to herself, then closed the laptop without a word. There was no press release, no public apology, no headlines shouting justice. Elena didn't need any of that, because the message was already etched deep in Horizon Air's system, in their staff protocol, and in the memory of everyone who had watched it unfold. She hadn't torched the place. She didn't have to. She froze it with her presence and made them fix themselves. Her silence, sharper than any scream. Her stillness, more threatening than any confrontation. Voiceover fades in. For every time you've been doubted, every time someone looked at you and saw less, every time you were told to step aside, this story is for you. Because Elena JM didn't just board a plane, she boarded history. She proved you don't have to raise your voice when you already walk with truth. You don't have to fight fire with fire when all you need is focus, proof, and power in your presence. That night, a reply landed in her inbox. Subject, system update, final from Horizon Air. "Miss JM, flag audit complete. Your name marked as unremovable VIP. All training protocols updated per your statement. You were right. We were wrong." And as Elena sat in her Seattle hotel room, no celebration, no champagne, she just watched the city lights and thought of how many others had been turned away without a voice, without Marcus, without backup. That's who she stood for. Not just herself, all of us. "Sometimes you don't need to flip the table," she would later say to a friend. "You just need to show them you own the damn table." They picked the wrong black woman to doubt, and she left them standing in the wreckage of their own assumptions. No raised voice, no drama, just legacy written in steel, in silence, in truth.